Module 2, Creating a Room. Okay, first part of creating a room would be drawing the walls. You'll start by inserting the walls first, and we do that by clicking on the wall icon. See how your mouse has changed into a little square? That means you're about to draw a wall. First of all, the main thing to remember is don't start in a corner. You want to start at the end of some walls. The other thing to remember is to work in a clockwise direction. So, click where you want your walls to start, and you'll see this red line appears around your mouse. Lead the mouse in the direction you want the wall to go, and you see how the numbers appear in a little yellow box to tell you how long that wall will be. These numbers are millimeters. So very simply, it's click, 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 and click. So there you can see the outline of a wall. I can then choose whether to go left or right, but because I'm drawing these walls in clockwise directions, of course I'm going to go right. Click again, and again, and just keep on clicking until you've done your room. And then to get out of it, or to stop drawing walls, you want to press the escape button on your keyboard. It's then going to ask you what thickness and height you would like your walls to be. Ignore these two buttons here, inside and outside, just leave them as is. So the standard thickness is 150 millimeters and standard height is 2500. If you do happen to know the ceiling height of your room, enter it in here. Then click OK. You can see how now the outline of the wall have turned into this hashed drawing. So let's try that again. We can click and drag to highlight the walls and press delete just to get rid of it and start again. So back up to my wall icon, click. Let's say I want to do a square room, but I accidentally click too soon. To undo the section of wall that you've just created, you want to right click the mouse and it goes back to the last click. But if the wall doesn't quite reach up where you want it to, again right click, or you can start again completely. Always remember to click in a clockwise direction. So you get good practice at this in the training exercises. See how my room isn't quite square? It's made that wall a little bit angled just to compensate. Now I'm going to show you how to draw walls to your exact dimensions. I've just pressed delete there to start again. Go over to walls, pick your starting point, click once, and before you left click again, see how it's got this little box up here that's asking you for the W, that means width. Use your keyboard to enter in the length or the width of the wall and press enter on your keyboard. It's going to draw a wall to your exact dimensions. Always remember to have your mouse pointing in the direction that you want the next wall to go. So for example, I could draw it up this way, but I don't want to do that. Again, I can right click to go back to the last correct spot. And here it's just letting me type in the dimensions the whole way around the room. Okay, there's my room. I don't need to draw anymore, so I press Escape on the keyboard. You now have a room exactly the size you want. Always remember to draw in a clockwise direction, and you can't go wrong. Okay, the next part of creating the room is to adding some doors. Now, do you remember from Module 1? We had the catalogue menu over here on the right hand side. Doors and windows are kept in the constraints catalogue. So select that from the top drop down menu. I usually stick to one of these two windows, 1C and 2C. And for doors, you can stick to those ones there. Alternatively, you can go down an extra subcategory to holes and inserts in walls. I like to do that for doors, otherwise your drawing can get a bit messy when you see the door swing onto the page. Just to show you what I mean, let's go back to the main constraint selection. Now just quickly, I'll show you this more in a sec. I'll explain what I'm doing a bit more in a tick. But see how that doorway's got this swing drawn on it? I don't like that, so I'm just going to highlight it by clicking on it and pressing Delete on my keyboard. And instead, from the subcategory menu, click Holes and Inserts in Walls. Here's Door, just as the hole only. And it creates a doorway without any messy door swings drawn on the picture. So just to show you in a bit more detail what I've done there, first of all I'm just going to delete what I've done. Over here in the constraints catalogue, I want to go to the holes and inserts in wall selection because I like the doors that's just a gap in the wall. I don't like to see the drawing of the door on the screen. Here you can nominate the width of your door. Standard is an 800mm wide door, but you can have a 1 meter wide door. So the width is what you're concerned with. Now, do you remember earlier on we looked at the 3D image of this drawing? It looks a bit funny, you can't actually see it very well, but to put it onto the screen, you want to click on this image, hold the button down, drag it onto the drawing. Select the wall that it's going onto and let go of the mouse, and it plonks it in place. Let's say, for example, you know exactly where that door is on the wall. For example, it's 500mm from the left-hand wall. Back over here, let's go back to an 800 wide door. Let's say that I know that this door is 500mm from the left end of the left-hand wall. I enter 500 into that box, L or R. Again, click and drag. I can say I want to place it. I can place it anywhere on this wall, and it's going to change the door and move it into place for me. So I could let go of the door up here, but it puts it down here because the distance from the end of this wall to the start of the door is 500mm, which is what I've asked it to do. Last little bit is to enter in the windows. So once again, we're in the constraints catalogue, and we're going to choose either one of these two windows. Let's put in a window that's 1100 wide, very similar to the door. You enter in the width here and the left or right placement there. So I want it to be 100mm from the end of the right hand side of the wall. This icon's a little bit easy to see. Click and drag into place. It's then going to ask you about what you want your window to look like. I just choose white normally and click OK. Doesn't really matter, it won't affect prices or anything like that. It's just a visual only. So here you can see we've got a window in place, and this little arrow here has to do with when you have a three-dimensional drawing where the light source is meant to be coming from. Again, I'm pretty conscious about my plan looking too busy, so I often just click on that arrow and press delete on my keyboard just to get rid of it. Okay, so we've now got a pretty funny looking room, but it's a room nonetheless. Next thing to do is to write the dimensions. Now luckily, dimensions or dimensioning a room is actually a fairly automatic process. Once all the doors, walls and windows are in place, you can put all their dimensions on the screen by selecting the whole plan. Click any point in the screen, just click and drag over the walls, windows and doors. Let go. See how all of these items are now highlighted. We want to go up to the selection menu and click dimension. And all the dimensions are now written in there. See how one of these little dimensions is a little bit small to read? I'm now going to show you a little shortcut on how to zoom into the drawing. If you like, you can click on this enlarge button up here. You get a little magnifying glass and then you click it on the plan and it zooms in a little bit for you. But the shortcut I prefer to use is to roll the scroll button or the little wheel on your mouse in and out, or out and in, just to zoom in a bit. If you also click down on that wheel and click and drag, you can actually move the drawing around so you can center over the area of interest. More of those shortcuts are coming later on in the training guide, but I just thought I'd take that opportunity to show you that one there. Okay, so we've got all the dimensions now on our plan. Occasionally it'll draw a dimension for the window on the inside of your plan, and once we start to put cabinets and everything in there, it's going to look a bit busy. So if there's any dimension that you don't want, click on it and press delete. Delete. Some of the dimensions you also may consider to be irrelevant, or perhaps you haven't measured properly, so you don't want to specify that as the exact dimension. Again, you can just highlight it and press delete. Okay, we've now just built our room. So that brings us to the end of Module 2 for creating the room. So I'm going to send you now back to the training exercises book. First of all, start off with the preliminary wall exercises. There you've got about 6 or 7 different wall configurations to have a good practice on, because the walls are one of the very first things you enter into your drawing, and if you get that wrong, you'll have a lot of problems later. So it's a very good idea to get quite familiar with the process. So that's what the preliminary wall exercises are all about. Once you've finished those, move on to exercise 1, module 2, then exercise 2, module 2, exercise 3, module 2, and so on.